How's it going? I'm back again with another project here. I have a two-stroke snowblower. It's a Toro snowblower. I'm not able to keep it running. I'm able to pour some fuel in the cylinder and it'll run for a short period of time, and as soon as that fuel's burned up, it stops running. So typically I look for three things when something's not running. I check to see if there's spark. I had a good spark. Obviously not getting any fuel. Air is the third one. There's no air cleaner on this, so I'm assuming that the airflow is good. So I think what had happened is the fuel sat in the carburetor over the summer and probably gummed up and probably plugged up some of the ports. So what I'm going to do is take it apart, look at the float bowl in that and see how that looks, and hopefully replace some O-rings and blow some stuff out with the air compressor and get this thing running. It's dripping some snow right now because I was able to run it in the snow and just what fuel was in the whatever I poured in the cylinder. So let's take it apart. Alright, so in here there's some linkage we need to get disconnected, and also the priming line we need to get disconnected before we can pull the carburetor off. You can see the linkage is right down there. Kind of got to bend the carburetor, or not bend it, but turn it one way to get that disconnected. And then also on this side there's the priming line we'll have to remove. We'll get those popped off. The car will be ready to take out of the machine. It's a 1/2-inch nut on the bottom of the float bowl. I'm going to remove the float bowl. And there's a gasket on there, an O-ring. Needs to stay on there, make sure that goes back on there. Probably going to replace that. And inside here, definitely see there's some garbage in there. Could be the culprit. Probably plugged up some of the ports in the carburetor. We'll get this cleaned out. Remove the float bowl. Take a look and see what's in the float, around the float bowl. See if that needs to be cleaned up. Get this debris out of here. Get this cleaned up the best we can. Looks like the gasket around the bottom of the float bowl is shot. We'll have to clean that off. On the float bowl, there's a little pin. Slides right out. I'm going to slide that out right now, and you can see works similar to a toilet. So when the float bowl drops down, this needle here actually drops down, releases off of a seat, and allows fuel in. Once the fuel fills up, allows this float to float back up. This seals off the fuel, so as fuel is consumed, this float cycles and allows fuel to enter the float bowl and then be consumed by the motor. You can see the carburetor, the seal here. You can see it's kind of it's pretty rough shape. I'm going to replace that. Use air compressor to blow out some of the ports, make sure there's nothing plugged, and reassemble it and see how this thing fires out. The kit I purchased has an O-ring for the float bowl, one for the bottom nut, a new needle, and then an O-ring in there, and then a new spring. So we'll get that opened up, we'll get those parts installed, see how it runs. So to install the needle into that new spring, it just slides in on that shoulder, and then the float bowl slides in under that lower part and rides on the bottom of that needle. The tricky part is going to be trying to get this spring in. The that round pin goes through there that the float bowl rides on, and then one part of the spring goes on the float bowl and the other one rides on the shoulder of the float bowl, the assembly. So it kind of keeps the tension on it. It's going to be a little tricky getting that in there right now. Once this goes back together, you can kind of see on the float bowl, there's the part that sticks out, and then there's this flattened part. This flattened part goes over here where the spring and the needle are. That way the float can move up and down in this region. So line that up. Actually, put the gasket on first. That bottom bolt that holds that on there's a few holes. Make sure those holes are clear. Blow them out with air compressor. Make sure there's nothing in there, any debris or anything, plugging those up. For reassembly back in the machine, start off with that bent shaft for the governor, bend that into that hole, get that set up. You can put the screws in and then put the priming pump hose on after, or you can do that prior to bolting it down. Float bowl anything doesn't leak. Before I reassemble everything, I'm going to give it a start. Looks like it starts up. I'm going to go ahead and button everything back up, put the plastic shrouds on in that, and I'm going to head outside and clear the driveway. We've got quite a bit of snow coming down right now. If you like this channel, you like what I've been doing, stay tuned, keep up with the current projects, and there'll be more videos to come. Subscribe to my page to see more.